Thanks. A question or a comment for Linda and a couple of questions, short questions for Colleen. First, Linda, thank you so much for this. We just, Barb and I just withdrew our daughter from government school about, 4 weeks ago? You became homeschoolers about four weeks ago. And one of the things that you brought out is we immediately learned how poorly she had been educated in government schools up to this point. And she's doing fantastic. We're really proud of her for making this courageous step. Took a little while to convince her, but she came along with it, and we haven't seen her this happy in a long time. She's really happy. Colleen, first simple question, wouldn't you say that currently what we have in the United States and unfortunately in Texas is indeed a Soviet-style education system? That's the first question. And you also brought up the point about the fund to help bail out ISDs in case they're not able to, they're going to default on their bonds. Isn't that fund insufficient? Because from what I understand, when it comes to local debt, primarily driven by independent school districts, it's now approaching close to $400 billion statewide.
Well, it's scary. That's what, when you look at the amount of debt we're in, I know y'all had a speaker before on the funding. The funding has become so complicated, I don't understand it anymore. I used to understand it. It's so complicated, you need like a special degree to figure out the system. But one of the things we've been complaining about the last few years is they've made the debt easier and easier to acquire and saying, we're just gonna back it with state money. Well, the problem is, if everybody defaults, we don't have enough money to pay it off, then there's not enough left for the schools. So it's really scary. And that's not my specialty, but it terrifies me as a taxpayer that we could never bail ourselves out.
Okay, but a follow-up on that, like for instance here at Sci-Fair, the passing of a couple of $1 billion bond issue, another couple of $1 billion bond issue. The structuring of the structuring of the debt is what's really most dangerous, correct? Because they're using the collateralized appreciation bonds that have the large balloon payment in about 25 years. So they'll say that we're not going to raise your taxes now, but the children that are going to school that perhaps stay in Sci-Fair 20 years from now when they're starting their most productive years in career, or those who move in to the Sci-Fair area or any other ISD, they're going to get slammed in about 2 decades with this huge balloon payment. It's not just that the bond issues are passing, it's how the debt is being structured, and we need to attack that. Or just, of course, just abolish property taxes.
Yeah, I always compare it to those people who go in to buy a new car. Don't worry, we'll just roll over what you owe in the old car into this one. And it sounds great until they all of a sudden realize that they owe so much more than that car, any car they own is ever worth. And they're going to be paying off these extra loans forever. They're never going to get out of debt, but all they see is the monthly payment. And you try to explain it to them and they don't care. They only care about that monthly payment. And a lot of our government has gotten into that. It's really scary.
Colleen, Linda. And Colleen, first of all, good job, both of you. That was very eye-opening. I think this question is more for Colleen. A couple of issues that have concerned me when I'm going at it with this. I'm just wondering what could be done top-down. First of all, you have kids that aren't learning our history at all. Kids that are coming out of school. It's a big problem in my mind if you don't know what our country is about. You can't name the 3 branches of government, et cetera, et cetera. But the other one that's, our kids are going to be left behind for another reason. When all of us went to school, the United States was sort of king of the hill coming out of World War II. That's not like that anymore. And as our kids are getting, not learning much about diversity and this and that, and they don't know that, they're going to get blown away by kids from other countries. So I guess what I'm wondering is, what kind of recognition of that is there in Austin in particular? What can be done about it? Anything. From a top-down level.
I don't think there's any recognition of it in Austin. But to me, the only way you fix it is that if they're going to be taking a test, the test should include this. The test should be like the citizenship test. It's factual. Like what I did, for 2 years I subbed so that I could go in any classroom I wanted. I could go in and teach, senior government or whatever for a few days. I could actually go in and read the curriculum and find out what was going on. So I did that for 2 years. And the kids that were finished taking the last test, they're not supposed to talk about the test, but I figured, what the heck, I'd see what I can get out of them. So So the seniors that had just taken that test, the government test, and so I said, well, did you feel good about it? What kind of stuff do you know, you knew, and which questions did you not know? And one of them goes, I always get that bird lady mixed up. And I said, bird lady? U.S. history? What bird lady? And she goes, the question was, which was our most beloved first lady? And so then I said, you mean Lady Bird? And she goes, yeah, the bird lady. And I'm like, what? What kind of questions are being asked? Another one was, she goes, well, I knew I got the one about Watergate. I said, what was the question about Watergate? What was the event that changed Americans' feelings towards government, made them mistrust their government? It was Watergate. I'm like, well, I was in there going, what kind of stuff are these poor teachers having to teach? But if that's the test, then that's what the kids are learning. So we have to see what tests are being taken and then figure out what the teachers are having to teach to pass those tests. Because the teacher doesn't really have a say. She's got to get the kids ready for whatever test they're going to take. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
One of the repercussions, I think I had the name right, of the Promise Act by Obama. My daughter is a public school teacher. She said another teacher went to a workshop this past summer and came back and told her that if a child is creating significant problems in one school and they transfer schools, they're not allowed to tell the other school the significant. So he may be, threatening and ranting and someone that, we better look at this child, make sure he's not going to kill someone, but they can't tell the other school that. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of I don't know what they called it, but I've heard that it's going on, and it's it happened in the past. It's nothing new. It was just, we used to call it pass the trash. It's like, oh, we don't have to worry about that kid anymore. He's going over there, and we're not going to tell them because they might not take him. So it was always, if it's common practice. I did not know that it had become some kind of law that you can't tell them anymore. But we just used to keep our mouth shut because that way it wasn't your problem anymore.
Okay, just one more, Joe, and then we'll.
Linda, are there any requirements at all? Are there any requirements at all for a homemaker such as yourself, wife, to teach their kids in a homeschool? Does the state have any requirements at all?
Texas homeschools are considered unaccredited private schools and therefore are not regulated by the state of Texas.
That's what I thought.
So that scares people, but what you need to look at is the outcome. It does not take me a lot of effort to figure out how to get the curriculum and facilitate the learning for my child, and anything that I don't personally know, I can go to somebody else and get them to do it, the same way you would do with private piano lessons. So it's more of a facilitator and learning along. We did math. We had a CD set of programs for our math that took us through Algebra 2 with the kids. And I got through calculus when I was in high school, and so I had an idea of what I wanted to get my kids to, but then, because I had done it in high school, I didn't have to ever take another math class, so it was a long time ago. So when I did math with the kids, I sat down and did the math with them. I sat there, I listened to the lessons, I did the problems, they did the problems, we would compare. And I didn't let them go on if they only got 80%. That was not enough for me to be certain that they understood the issues. So we would go back and listen again to at least the portions that we were missing questions on, or maybe the whole thing, and then we would take the test again until they got at least 90% and could explain what they'd missed on any problems they missed. So we called that mastery. So they were getting a lot more than the public schools require. In public school, you get a grade, and then you find out what you don't know, and then you go on and start learning. And the purpose of grading is to weed kids out. And I was not going to allow my kids to be weeded out of any opportunity I wanted for them in the future.
Okay, let's do one last question. Marilee, let you have the last one.
Okay.
And then you can all stay around and
Okay.
ask questions.
By the way,
talk to the candidates.
I'm married to the person in the back that asked that question, and I worked at a charter school for 3 years as a school nurse. I am a certified elementary teacher. I taught piano for 5 years because when I first went out to college, I was a piano major, and he was shocked at what was going on at the charter school because I was one of the few people in the building that was certified in teaching, and the rest of them seemed to kind of have no clue. So anyway, I have a question for you, and by the way, I'm a big proponent of homeschooling. My grandson was homeschooled last year, this year.
Marilyn,
Okay, no, I
let's
have a
have your
question.
question.
Okay, so the question is this. Because I'm a registered nurse, I am very familiar with the history of Florence Nightingale, who is the founder of modern nursing. Are you aware that she was homeschooled by her dad because they were of the aristocracy and he taught her all those things you talked about, the classics? Were you aware?
I'm not surprised, but the timing of her life makes that almost inevitable.
Because she was amazing.
Yeah.
Can I add something to his question?
Yeah.
One of the advantages to homeschool is, like I said, when your child only gets an 80%, you could stop and teach them that the 20% he didn't understand. When you're in a large school setting and you're told you're going to teach this lesson on this day, on Tuesday you're teaching this lesson, on Wednesday you're teaching this lesson, you can't go back. So if a kid is absent or he didn't master everything that day, there's no way, the teacher has 125 kids, she can't keep everybody at 100%. That's one great advantage to homeschooling or a small private school setting, is each kid can achieve that 100% without,
You look at that from the other perspective, they're aiming at the low level, and then the slow ones have trouble, and they're
Yes.
gonna miss out. And then they fade out and they miss more and more as they go along. And similar thing happens when you sit a bright kid in a classroom and hold them back. They get so bored, they become a problem child, and they hate learning and things get in the way. So that doesn't happen in a better setting.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. I think we'll suspend with